And there's some mixed news in regards to the new Wonder Woman game. We're going to try and stay positive. There's a little bit of negative stuff towards the end, but I do want to talk about the good things, which is that a new leak has happened in regards to Monolith's new Wonder Woman game, showing off some concept art and some gameplay details that have also leaked from an online survey. It's all been immediately taken down, which is a nice smoking gun as to the legitimacy of the whole thing. But everything that's been revealed does look quite nice and quite promising, and there's specific things to get to. We've seen the artwork. You managed to screen grab it on your phone. We can't show any of it.
That's confess to legality on this video now.
I had to reword some of the stuff that's in here as well, because it seems like something in here seems like an official announcement, but then there's also part of a survey. I had to reword some of the stuff in here to avoid the police, let's say. But we'll see. The meaty stuff in here is the game's story being outlined, including details on the newest iteration of the Nemesis system. This is something that was mentioned when the Wonder Woman game was announced. Warner Brothers reiterated it last year, the idea being that they would finally iterate on the Nemesis system.
Patented?
The thing that patented for the last few years, the idea being that the reason, rather, that you've not seen the Nemesis system since 2017 is that Warner Brothers locked that thing down, and Wonder Woman's game is where it's finally going to show back up. It was first seen in Shadow of Mordor back in 2014. The leak does mention a unique cast of procedurally generated allies and enemies who remember your choices and actions and react accordingly to their beliefs. Diana's Lasso of Truth is also mentioned as a key weapon, assumedly turning enemies to your side, playing them against each other, and building up rivalries over time that differ per player. If you haven't played the Shadow games, the whole idea of the Nemesis system is essentially making a main enemy out of any NPC. It's turning them to your will. But it's really cool. You play enemies against each other, and over time, you'll end up facing off against the same random enemy that then becomes the main enemy over time, leading to some sort of showdown at the end.
The battles I had with Scuzzbucket in like Shadow of War, man.
Coming back with a new face.
Oh, God. The arcs you could build with that system. Great time.
It's unbelievably underused. Like, it's ridiculous that they tried to patent it, or they did patent it and then didn't do anything with it. Quick thoughts on that, and then we'll get to some of the other story stuff, but the Nemesis stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that obviously we can't go into like massive specifics on the little synopsis that was given in the marketing thing, but it made reference to both, the procedurally generated allies, enemies that you can create with that system, which is very exciting. I didn't initially see how it would work for a Wonder Woman game. I always thought that it was interesting as a Batman thing, where you could maybe build your own informants and take on the mob, and then different people in the mob, or like underbosses within different criminal organizations would then rise up. Makes more sense to me as a Batman thing still, but they also mention that you'll encounter iconic DC characters. So, for Wonder Woman, there's certain villains that they mention here, but also I'd imagine maybe Steve Trevor will get involved. Those classic kind of Wonder Woman allies, enemies. I'm curious to see how this all pans out going forward, because it's been a long time since we got a proper single-player DC game, and hopefully the fact that this has emerged its way online.
Yeah, man.
And the concept art does look very juicy if you were lucky enough to get a look at it before it got
sliced and taken offline.
But yeah, no, I'm hoping that maybe an official thing will come soon out of this. I would think that would happen. I just want to see Monolith doing stuff again, because it has been far too long.
They are long overdue a gameplay trailer. The reason I mentioned some negative stuff at the beginning, which I'll get to in a bit, is the state of the game overall, according to Kind of Funny's Greg Miller, but I'll get there. In terms of the game's story, it seems like it's centered around the invasion, an invasion by sorcerer Cersei, I think is her name.
Cersei, yeah.
Cersei, which sees Diana Prince.
Yep.
It's been a while since
You're doing well, mate. You're doing, mate. I'm doing well.
I'm 35. I'm a dad. I'm keeping up.
I'm 35. I don't have time for Wonder Women.
But it's a sorceress called Cersei, which sees Diana return to Themyscira to help her homeland and repair the relationship with her mother, Queen Hippolyta, alongside many other Amazons feeling betrayed that you left in the first place. So it seems like even with that, there's way more story set up than there was in something like Shadow of War, where Shadow of War was like, just go out there and do more Nemesis stuff. And I'd love that game for that, but obviously Warner Brothers would then try and monetize the hell out of it. This has been described by Warner Brothers as not being a live service. They said it's not being designed as a live service. It is a single-player action-adventure game set in a dynamic open world. I'll believe it when I see it, to be honest. Like, they've gone so back and forward on various projects that they've overlooked, obviously being Suicide Squad being one of the worst ones. And at this point, I'm just proofs in the pudding. Like, I think they might end up inverting the way that Shadow of War went, where they release something that is like, hey, it's completely fine, and then bolt on on, like they had orc loot crates in Shadow of War, Amazon loot crates or whatever the hell it is, tie in with Amazon.com.
You could see how they would add seasonal stuff to this. If they've made a big map of the Themyscira, there's loads of different mythological enemies you can plug into that realm, because obviously Wonder Woman's Rogues Gallery in DC Comics draws heavily from Greek mythology, hence why there's also references made here to Medusa. Obviously, Cheetah is a classic Wonder Woman villain who shows up in the concept art too, so you can expect the heavy hitters to appear. I would hope that they do well with this sort of stuff. The premise itself is exciting to me because I think they're taking the right route here, where originally I thought when they announced it they might do like a prequel thing where Wonder Woman hasn't gone off to see quote unquote man's world and hasn't interacted with all these other different DC characters. But from the sounds of things, it looks like she's returning from that. So we might get lots of fun references to the Justice League, different adventures that she's had while there. And obviously that also allows Monolith to potentially plug in those characters into the Themyscira, which would obviously lead to a lot of controversy because, outsiders aren't meant to be there. So maybe there's some exciting drama to be mined from that context.
I always wonder, there's a little bit more to this, but I wonder in regards to the overall direction of DC and all the James Gunn stuff, whether because this has been in development for so long, there's that whole thing where everything has to make perfect canon sense. I wonder whether they've had to re-road this.
I hope someone's told Big Jim that's not, that you can't do that.
Big Jim Gunn, Big Jim Pistol. Yeah, the way that it seems like, at least it seems like things are coming together. The combat is described as being free flow, which is what they always used to refer to the Arkham games combat as, and that is what the Shadow games had as well, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. So in a way you can kind of piece together how this is going to be, how this is going to play, which is awesome.
They mentioned flying as well, which I'm excited about because I didn't think that, potentially different depictions, we've seen Wonder Woman leap a lot, and obviously she does fly, but I was kind of curious whether or not they would keep that skill set for this game. Obviously in an open world title, if you fly around everywhere, that kind of circumnavigates certain aspects of navigation in terms of that, but maybe they'll figure out ways of being, you can't fly here because there's anti-aircraft defenses. You might get arrowed in the face.
I wonder if it'll be like an Arkham Origins where they talk about the Bat Jet, but you're just using it as a fast travel thing, and that could be a way of getting around saying like you've got
pretty
access
fun
to the jet.
Like abduct someone by lassoing them and then flying off into the atmosphere or something.
If they're going to take anything from the recent movies, lassoing from clouds is fun, and lightning bolts or whatever in the second movie. But yeah, villains include Cersei, Medusa, and Cheetah, like you said there, seen in the concept art, which maybe might be online by this time. In theory, they'll put something out because of how much this leak is getting out there. But the state of the game, I just wanted to touch back on this. We did a news on this a little while ago. Came from Kind of Funny's Greg Miller talking about the game, saying that it's essentially in development hell, questioning what Warner Brothers want the game to be. This is kind of in the wake of Suicide Squad, just touching on the reality of what it's like working under Warner Brothers and David Zaslav and the push for endless live service stuff. And there's a whole clip you can go watch of him talking about what that's like and just saying from the people that he's talked to, being like, what the hell does Warner Brothers want from these games? But like I said, Warner Brothers' official statement, public statement, is that it's a single player action adventure and it's not being designed as a live service. So leaks like this seem promising, but it's going to take something entirely, for me, entirely gameplay based to actually convince me that it's not another Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I'm a big DC person, but I'm in one of those DC positions where it's like most of my favorite DC stuff came out like 20 years ago. That goes from like the comics, the movies, the actual like animated stuff, the games, even in some respects. So like more recent DC for me has been trying to reconcile, I love DC with that's not the DC that I want. So hopefully this thing is more like the old stuff. I really hope for one that if they're going to keep this in terms of like taking cues from something like Batman Arkham, I would hope that when those games brought back Kevin Conroy to voice Batman, I would hope that Susan Eisenberg, who voiced Wonder Woman in the Justice League and Justice League Limited shows, I would hope that there would be maybe some conversations involving her coming back to the role, because that would be really good. Just leaning into everything that we want from that character. Look beyond just the movies and the aesthetics are there, and to be fair, the concept art makes it seem as if they are pulling from something, from that rich well of comics history. So hopefully it's on the right track. I'm just hoping that I want to see something tangible, and obviously this is all very early stages anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I'm like you. I'm cautiously optimistic from the sounds of things. We're overdue a single player DC thing. Yes. And
it ain't Arkham Shadow.
Yeah, and even though this wasn't the project I think a lot of people thought would happen, it's exciting that we're getting a Wonder Woman game, and Yeah.
I have faith in Monolith, and like Shadow of Mordor was damn near Game of the Year back in 2014. Like
brilliant.
if not for PT or whatever. And I feel like they are a studio that since they started working on these licensed things, they just haven't been able to shine. Like 2 games in 10 years sucks. And to me, they're in the same position that Rocksteady were in before Suicide Squad.
It's the exact same thing. Warner Brothers Montreal, Rocksteady, and Monolith, they have not been making as many games as those talented teams should have, and it does seem to be a top-down issue from Warner Brothers as far as that company is concerned. So hopefully the long wait will be worth it, because I am so ready for some actual more DC goodness. I literally ordered the box set of Justice League Unlimited the other day because I'm in that headspace again. So I'm getting ready. If you want any comics recommendations, ask me down in the comments below. Just help each other out. Be each other's friend.
Yes, find the man on social media. Shout out some favorite comic recommendations. Let us know what you think down in the comments below, and hopefully Wonder Woman sees the light of day.